Welcome to the Saturday Night Live Afterparty. For this month's off-week blowout extravaganza podcast, we'll be discussing Season 48's 3 most recent episodes, hosted by Keke Palmer, Steve Martin and Martin Short, and Elvis, or at least the guy that won't stop talking like him. I'm Katherine Coleman, and I am joined this week by the amazing Steve Finn and Pat Riley. You can follow Pat at NotPatRiley. And if you'd like to connect with us, you can find us on Twitter at SNL Podcast. If you'd like to get early access to all of our Season 48 coverage, head over to patreon.com/SNL Podcast. It's our patrons who make this show possible, and we are so thankful to everyone who's already come on board. All right, here we go. Hello, hello. Happy holidays. How's everybody doing?
Happy holidays.
Doing well.
Good.
Doing well. Happy holidays out to you guys as well. Hope it's not too cold out there.
Yeah. So lots to discuss. We had three episodes we got coming at you. As a reminder to our audience, we got this new format. We're talking about the run of shows as a whole. We're evolving the format. We're figuring out what works best. So don't hesitate to let us know your feedback, good or bad, on Twitter, Patreon, Reddit. However you want to get in touch with us, we'll take it.
Especially bad. Especially.
If it's bad, do direct it straight to my DMs.
Yeah.
I thrive on the drama. Yeah. It'll be a great Christmas present to me if you can do that for me.
Yeah, wait until Christmas, then you tell Katherine exactly what you think of her. That's what she wants.
Perfect. But yeah, so we got a lot to discuss. I know and I know we have great things to say, lots of sketches, so let's just jump right in. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
I am.
Well, all right, our first episode to discuss is Keke Palmer. Let's talk about Keke Palmer. How familiar were you with Keke? What'd you expect from her? Patrick, you want to dive in?
Oh, I love Keke Palmer. I genuinely I had such high hopes for her. Because SNL, I feel like, is the perfect place for her to thrive. And I really do think they did a fantastic job. The writing this episode was very good. They really wrote for her voice because for those who remember Keke Palmer as True Jackson VP, she has great comic timing and she's so amazing in Nope. She's so good in Nope. So this was like one of those SNL summer holdouts where it's like, oh, they were in a big movie this summer, but we were off. So I guess Christmas time, It's time to throw them up and let them host. So I was glad that they didn't forget Keke Palmer.
I didn't really know anything about Keke Palmer prior to this. I knew who she was, but I haven't seen Nope. True Jackson VP was a little bit after my Nickelodeon time. So like I said, I knew who she was, but I didn't really have any idea what to expect. Knowing that she was a Nickelodeon kid, I had high hopes because that sounds pretty promising. You know, we have Keenan. So yeah, I didn't know what to expect, but I was very pleasantly surprised. She was high energy. She was like excited to be there. I thought she brought something really unique to the show, which is great. Yeah, Steve, what was your awareness?
Awareness level was pretty low, I'll be honest. But I don't even think that was a worry for anybody that week on SNL because they must have known she was going to go over well. She's so likable, so talented, and it seemed like everybody loved her there. I can kind of get a vibe off the cast, you know, if someone's particularly difficult, and everybody just seemed to enjoy being at work that week. So that's always a good sign.
All right, well, let's talk about the 2 sketches that we've picked for this episode. Up first, it's cuffing season, and that means I need a big boy. And I picked this one because I loved it. And I loved it. I shared it on social media the second that they made it available because I just think like everyone needs to see it. It's so funny, so well observed, and you know, we love the representation. I was watching it with my husband, who's a bigger guy, and like the joy that I saw on his face when this ended was just unmatched. It made me feel so happy for him. Like I think like he just felt like seen and appreciated. It was incredible. Like that's the power of representation. But you know, off my soapbox, A+ production. I must say the flying first class because he don't fit in the back is one of the single funniest lines I've maybe ever heard. Like that is so brilliant and so accurate. Because my husband isn't like he's got like a broad rib cage, but he's also like 6'4", so like he's just too tall to sit and coach. So like that made me. I think from that moment on, I didn't hear anything else they said because I was laughing so hard. So yeah, I loved this. I thought it was a home run. Patrick, what did you think?
I agree. I loved it very much. My maybe my favorite joke of the night. And again, I really like this episode. I thought the writing was strong this episode. I thought the performance was strong. My favorite joke of the night is when I think it's SZA is like looking at the poster of Chris Pratt in Guardians of the Galaxy, and then she goes, and then she puts Chris Pratt in Park as a rec over. That
was great.
made me belly laugh. It's such a great visual joke. It's such a fun joke. It's something that's constantly brought up in sorry, it's for blocking me with Bernadette, but it's constantly brought up in like pop culture and stuff of just how much of the weight he lost and all that. And, it's so funny.
I love like just a throwaway visual joke. Like there's no reference to what's happening in the song. It's just something that we see happen, and it's great. That's just a really great touch.
And it really works. Yeah.
Steve, anything to add?
I mean, didn't you really all say it all already? Like, it's good representation. Absolutely. I'm sure a lot of us are sick of seeing the ideal body being the washboard abs and all that. Come on. We need some warmth. This is a real message that people need to hear. Just another, comedy rap that just has like a sick melody and actually is fun to listen to. That seems to be like the case pretty much 99% of the time for any like hip hop or dance track that gets produced in the SNL house. I'm never unsatisfied by it. I'm laughing, but I'm also, I'm dancing. It's making me move.
Yeah, it's always a bop.
Yeah.
My understanding is that this sketch was a pitch from Punky, which is interesting. I think this is I feel like this is maybe the first time we've really had like a true, not the first time, there were a few others. This is one of the first times that we've had like a real like Punky Johnson sketch, and Punky's got bars. I was very impressed with Punky's verse. So yeah.
I will say that now that you tell me Punky wrote this makes sense because I've seen Punky stand up, and also just like she had such a huge middle chunk of this. That this all makes sense.
Yeah.
It was very much in line of their brand of humor, and I say that in the best possible way. It's a very, very funny sketch.
So yeah, big win on Big Boys. Now let's keep going on. Our next sketch is Orientation at the Hello Kitty store. Teaches you everything you need to know. For instance, Hello Kitty is actually a human girl. Steve, why'd you pick this one?
Why did I pick it? Just a couple of things, the set design for one thing. It was just gorgeous to look at. And that sent me down another rabbit hole because this is all based on like real things about Hello Kitty.
I was about to say, I forgot to Google, is the Hello Kitty canon that she's a human girl?
Yes. Yeah.
It's something that the creators said and is now saying that they were misquoted. But I don't know what the quote was originally that made people think it. So, yeah. But yeah, everything else like the Dear Daniel and all that, that's all real. They did their research. And I hope it didn't drive anyone insane. That's really taking one.
Well, can I fight you on that? They did the research thing. The first line of the sketch is, "Welcome to the New York Hello Kitty store, the first of its kind." Bullshit. In 1997 to 2011, there was a Hello Kitty store in Times Square. Don't come to me with that bullshit that this is the first Hello Kitty store, when there was a Hello Kitty store where the Yankee store is now on 42nd Street. And you're going to look me in the eyes and tell me, oh, Hello Kitty's a little girl. Isn't that funny? When you can't even get your facts right. And other than that, love the sketch. Thought it was very funny.
I enjoyed this one a lot. I really love sketches where people get outraged at something just inconsequential and stupid. Like I'd sort of lump this in with the Weezer sketch from a few years ago. Like that's a similar category of like this detail is not important, but you're going to lose your mind over it, you know. Um,
Yeah.
and I also think this was just a really creative scenario to put this in because I imagine the origin of it was some writer read this thing that Hello Kitty's a human girl, and they knew they had to do something with it. And the possibilities of where to put this sketch are endless. It could have been another dinner table conversation, like it could have been any number of things. But this is like such a fun setting because it's a
Mhm.
place that allows everyone around them to already be on board and like bought into Hello Kitty. And then they're surprised by this new knowledge.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought that was really, really brilliant. The only thing that kind of let me down was I thought the ending was a little weak because it became being about like New York as opposed to being like about Hello Kitty. Like it was still fun. I wasn't like a terrible ending, but I thought there could have maybe been something a little stronger to it.
I just love how the escalation was getting to Bowen and Keke so harshly. Like, tried to make sense of these facts that contradict each other. Like, how do you tell me what year they were born and then try to tell me they're still in grade 4, right? and they get more and more angry
Mhm.
as it goes on until they're throwing furniture. It's great.
And it's such a natural heightening move that they're like, well, then what's her race? Like that's such a perfect logical leap.
Yeah.
I love it. Now, before we leave the Kiki episode, we do need to briefly talk about the amazing Keenan and Kelly sketch. Because was everybody as excited about that as I was?
Yeah.
I think everybody was excited about
Steve.
I didn't.
Steve.
Well, sure. I didn't watch a whole lot. I didn't watch any Keenan and Kel or all that. I don't think I was the right
that. Hey,
age.
Steve, how old are you? I won't put it on the episode.
Why are you asking?
I'll cut it. I just need to know.
Well,
So
in
you
a
Yeah.
couple
maybe
weeks.
just missed
I will say,
it.
yeah, I think you just missed it. Catherine and I are the perfect age
Mhm.
for Keenan and Kel. I was
I
obsessed
was a
with
big
Keenan and Kel.
fan, yeah. Yeah, they nailed the tone of Keenan and Kel and everything. And it was so great to just see like the Rigby set and then have Kel come on. It was
Yeah.
I mean Keenan's been on the show for what, like 19 years and we're just now getting a Keenan
Mhm.
and Kel sketch
Right.
like at long
Yeah.
last. Yeah, so I feel like the Keke Palmer episode overall was a pretty exciting, high energy episode. It sounds like we all had great
Mhm.
feelings about it. Let's move on to Steve Martin and Martin Short, which, you know, as if we thought Keke Palmer was great, and then this announcement came through. I mean, my God, how exciting is that? Classic duo. I love Only Murders. And I mean, how long has it been since there were two hosts? Forever.
I was going to say
Tina
I
and
think
Amy.
Tina and
probably?
Amy, and that was
4 or 5 years ago.
I think that was like pre 2016. To be
Yeah.
honest with you,
it's been rare for a
It's been
very
a
long
while.
time.
yeah.
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 So that was exciting.
And it feels very classic. It's especially feels classic because these are two hosts that I have
Mhm.
hosted together before.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I assume I don't need to ask. Were you excited about Steve Martin and Martin Short? That's an understood,
Who?
of course.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about some sketches. The first one: Scrooge wakes up a changed man, ready to spread his wealth into the eyes of the orphans below. And Pat, this is your pick. What'd you like about
Everything.
it?
I love the sketch. I thought the sketch was so funny. I had a similar idea earlier this day. Like in the day, I texted my comedy partner Kevin. I was like, hey, I have an idea where you're Scrooge, I'm Ghost of Christmas Present, and we go to a present thing and someone's choking, but we can't help them. And we see them choke because we're not there, and we keep trying to like get people's attention to help this guy who's choking. And I'm gonna still try to be like, come on, welcome. You have to live in the moment, Scrooge. And Scrooge is like, he's turning blue. Can anyone do anything? Use your Christmas magic. And it's like, it doesn't work like that.
That's why.
Something like that. And then I saw this, and I'm like, this is a better version of my idea of, especially when Steve Martin shows up as the Ghost of Christmas Present. And he's just like,
he like throws an
does that Steve
icicle
Martin-
into Marcello's heart,
an
and he's
icicle.
like, they can't see me, by the way.
This is all
Yeah, so
audio.
you look crazy right now. I also love that it's Steve Martin doing that 70s Steve Martin when he walks in. He's like, "Hey, Scrooge, how are you, man? You doing great?" It's like he's not even doing an accent. It's just that 70s like sketch Steve Martin that like anyone who watched this Steve Martin best of SNL VHS a million times like I did. It's like a voice that I was so familiar with when I saw him do like, "Oh, hey, babe, what's," like this is like wild and crazy guy.
Yeah.
Steve Martin came back for a second. And it was like, oh, that's a plus. And then Martin Short, it's Martin Short. I will say this. Martin Short's my hero. He's been my comedy icon my entire life. I have modeled my onstage performance on Martin Short. It's he's my everything. He is best at, and this is where I think he really shines, is when he's done something wrong and he's trying to get away with it, is the funniest Martin Short. Not when he's going big, not when he's like yelling, but when he's done something bad and just does like a ooh and like tries to walk away. When he first blinds the orphan, he has to face it just like, ah, all right. It's such good timing. It's like no one does it better. With the last beat of the sketch, when the glass breaks and he just hears the screams and his face is hearing the screams, it just terror. And he's like, ugh, is so like unmatched comedically. It's insane how funny.
He's already done so much
Just
damage, you can't even go back and check.
He can't even go back, and it's just I love Steve Martin's line where he's just like, "Well, Scrooge, I wanted you to be better and enjoy Christmas, but now my best advice, lawyer up." Like,
yeah, my favorite Martin Short, I think, is Martin Short delivering a throwaway line. They're always amazing.
Yeah. A snide throwaway is great. Martin Short throwing his body around like a rag doll. It's something I do. Not to talk more about myself, but it's something that like I've watched Martin Short and especially with Steve Martin. One of my favorite Martin Short bits is when he's on stage and he becomes disinterested. He will walk away like something's over here and he'll follow it, but then something brings him back and he'll go right back into the why hello. And it's just and he does it not in this sketch, but in the Santa elf sketch where it's like mall Santa sketch, where there's a moment where you can see he just gets distracted by something over here distracts him. And then when it pulls him back, he goes back into just like a he just got yelled like a student being yelled at. It's just so he's so funny. Like him and Steve Martin together. What a genius! What a genius thing to do. Because you could have had Martin Short host. You could have had Steve Martin come back to host. But to have them together, it's just a match made in heaven. They're two perfect comedians. I will say this sketch doesn't have the best CGI. There is a very wonky horse that it's a very weird looking horse, but it doesn't matter because man, when they just start spraying everyone with blood and he's throwing metal from the sky and like, why are you doing this? Please, you're gonna scare the horse. And it kicks off what's his face? Mikey Day's head just goes flying off and then bounces on Tiny Tim. He goes back down the hole. He threw that cripple boy down the hole.
There's
like Jesus Christ.
There's like that one moment of wonky VFX, but there's a lot of really good VFX.
I was going to say,
there is. Yeah,
that coin soaring through the air looked great. Those shots.
Yeah,
maybe the horse.
And then
they
did
wonky.
some practical prosthetics for the eyes. That looked really good.
I was going to say, I really do. Speaking of like this, the prosthetics of the eyes, just Sarah Sherman. I was so happy that she was the orphan because if there's one cast member currently who I just want to see interact with Martin Short, Sarah Sherman. She's just got the right temperament for him. It's kind of like a coked up gerbil is the best way to describe Martin Short's comedy. It's just like kind of like, what do I do? What do I do? Where am I? Here I am. It's like it's that, and Sarah Sherman has that kind of stuff. So like when she came over, it was just like, well, I've got no money, and it's just like it's such a wonderful playing off each other, just so perfect.
I was really surprised that this wasn't a Sarah Sherman sketch, but it was actually written by Mikey and Colin.
Right. They had to
Oh,
have
Not
said
the most
Sarah's
surprising
perfect
thing you've
for this,
ever heard
you
in
know.
your life.
That is so surprising, especially from Mikey and Colin. I listen. I love Mikey Day.
Same.
I think he's fantastic
But
on the
this is
show.
not
I
like
don't see it.
it's not like a trademark Mikey sketch, you know? Like it's
No,
interesting.
not at all. Like he definitely he doesn't usually go this gory, to be completely honest. Like the punchline for this sketch is how gory can they get and how bloody and like how much of a massacre could this be? And especially for Colin too, because Colin doesn't usually go
Yeah.
for
He doesn't go
these
for
type of, like,
absurd, crazy situations.
absurd.
Really, yeah.
It's usually he doesn't go for character sketches.
Mm.
He's not really a character sketch writer, and this is a character. Like it's everyone is doing like big broad characters. There's no real straight man here, you know. And it's so that's why I would have said this. Maybe if I thought this was either Please Don't Destroy Guys or maybe Sarah Sherman
Yeah.
with like a Celeste Kim or something like that, you know. But yeah, a great sketch, wonderful, perfect time for the holidays.
Yeah, this was probably the highlight of the episode for me. It was just the turn it took was so unexpected. It's definitely a brand new take on how to parody A Christmas Carol. Like there's no one's seen this version before. And then just when I thought they didn't have anywhere left to go, like Tiny Tim fell in the sewer, and
Oh my God.
I just started like crying, laughing. So they found great places to go with it and to heighten like the first reveal, the first beat is so crazy, and yet they still kept going. So that was really good. And like I said, there was some really great VFX work, some awesome prosthetics, just really well executed overall, I think. Steve, any final thoughts on this one?
Well, I'll tell you something about how this made me feel watching, because like we have Steve and Marty, who kind of span like multiple generations of SNL. So we're talking about like, a classic connection to more classic sketches. And I feel like we got some kind of hybrid of like old school comedy sensibility with a more modern stomach for for viscera and stuff. Like, I think back in the 70s and 80s, if you tried to be this graphic, I don't think anybody would be laughing. But like a lot of this is very classic stuff. Like, the irony of just trying to fix the situation, and every attempt you make makes it worse. Like, it's like you watch like a classic ladder routine, but people are getting beheaded and gored while it's happening. It felt like the new meets the old, and it's just a perfect way of gelling these two old dudes with a younger cast. So yeah.
I definitely think you have a point there. It definitely feels, the bones of this sketch feel like almost like a Marx Brothers kind of like, oh no, you've misunderstood me. Like this is, no, I'm doing a good thing. Stop, no, listen, stop yelling, stop screaming, please stop screaming. That's like, it's just very much that, but it just gets really, really gory and goes to a really dark place, which again is crazy to think that this was written by Colin Jost and Mikey Day, who I consider, again, very, very funny people,
but very just kind of grounded writers.
Very grounded. They write great sketches. They're very funny writers, but I could never see them like, this is really branching out for them.
And great work. Do it more.
Do more.
All right. Well, so we really like A Christmas Carol. Let's move on. Father of the Bride, Part 8, sees Steve Martin paying for another wedding for his little girl, his menopausal little girl. This is a Steve pick. What'd you like about this one?
I liked being reminded of Father of the Bride. Do I need to say anything else? Those movies were so great. What is it? Nancy Myers makes these types of movies, where we all pretend to like be high middle class and not have to worry about money, and just have crazy adventures. It sounds like a great escape. Like it's not like so fantastical that it's like Lord of the Rings. It's just that far out of reach. But you know what? This was fun for a lot of reasons, because it had just a few opportunities. Like we have, for instance, we don't have Diane Keaton there, but we do have someone in the cast who does a lovely Diane Keaton impression.
Mhm.
And yeah, seeing Kieran come back, that's a reminder I needed. I did know that at one point, but yeah, it's like, oh yeah, he was in that movie. But I mean, this was nothing special. Like the nostalgia is why I want to talk about it more than anything.
Mhm.
But it is kind of funny, like the whole premise. Like if you did make 8 movies of this, uh, you can't do that without making somebody in the family look bad. You know?
Right.
8 weddings. Oh, okay, yeah, you're doing well, honey. So that was a fun observation to make.
Yeah, I think the nostalgia is the biggest thing here because it's super fun, and I immediately knew I was like, "Oh, this has Heidi Gardner written all over it." Like she
Oh yeah,
100% pitched this.
Mhm.
We know she
Yeah.
loves, old movies. Like she's a big big on nostalgia in general, and I'm sure like they photoshopped her face on the Father of the Bride poster. I'm sure that was just like a dream come true. So like definitely like I pegged that immediately. But yeah, I really like this. I think it's a obviously great use of the hosts.
oh
As
yeah.
I've said many times, I love it when there's a sketch specifically for the host. And the cameos were all great, but I did feel like it didn't have all the oomph it could have had because, like you said, like it's the nostalgia that makes it the most fun. It's not necessarily like there's like a lot of really great jokes in here. And I'm not sure if it's just because like I don't know, maybe because they did it live as opposed to being like a pre-taped movie trailer parody, or maybe it's because it was for some reason the last sketch of the night. But yeah, there was just a little something missing that I feel like it could have made it incredible, whereas it was just like, oh, this is fun, this is great. So yeah, I don't know if y'all felt that way. Patrick, where'd you land on it?
So I didn't love this sketch. I wasn't crazy about it, which, it's just, I don't have the nostalgia for Father of the Bride. And I don't know. This just didn't do it. I do agree with you that I think it should have been maybe a filmed sketch instead of done live because it didn't really work for me, and it's one of those things that I don't like these kind of sketches where it's just like, oh, here's a famous or legendary actor and here's like a reference of stuff they've done before. And if you're going to bring back like a legendary character from these guys, they both have SNL characters that they're known for, have Steve Martin and what's Dan Aykroyd doing, quietly dying in somewhere in Reno. Have Dan Aykroyd come back and they could just do Wild and Crazy Guy and have Martin Short be one of the little brothers or something like that, or had Martin Short do Ed Grimley, and I would love to have seen Ed Grimley.
It's something that they did together is probably why they picked it. Like you could have picked a lot of those things
Oh,
Yeah.
you
I
said,
know.
but like aside from like uh with Three Amigos and this new one they're
Mm-hmm.
doing.
Why? What's Chevy doing? Chevy can do it, right?
That's what I'm
Chevy.
saying.
I agree that I would have loved to see more of their classic characters, but I don't think it's one or the other. I think there were some sketches in this episode that could have been cut for one of those, and like this was
Yeah.
not the weakest one of the night, like so I don't know.
I will say that as much as I love the writing of Keke Palmer, and when we get to it, I'll say it now. I thought the Austin Butler episode was one of the strongest episodes this season, writing wise. Like truly, like the sketches, for the most part, the writing was super super tight or crazy as hell, and that's the only two I'll take. Is if the writing's not going to be tight, I better have never seen anything like this before, and that was that. For this episode, I feel like they went with the safe bet the entire time. And I think that's 100% because they're relying way too much on just the charisma
Mhm.
between Steve and Martin.
I felt I was really excited about them, and I think like they did great, but I thought it was kind of a weak episode. It was not the best, and I was a little let down at the end of the day. Let's talk about Austin Butler, shall we?
I think,
I
yeah.
what do we think? Has anyone seen Elvis? I asked, knowing Patrick's seen every movie that's ever come out.
I haven't seen every movie, but I haven't seen Avatar
Right,
yet.
right.
You know, I'm
I
seeing it.
was,
I'm
about to
seeing it
say,
on
I was like, it
Thursday. I
can't be
really don't
long.
want to, but I'm seeing it anyway. I really didn't like Elvis. But I think Austin Butler is a crazy person, right? We all agree he's a crazy person.
He's still doing the voice.
And I keep mentioning it the whole episode. It's why is he still doing the voice?
Well, having not seen Elvis, but I was familiar with Austin Butler's Elvis impression and the fact that he's in it and that he still speaks in the voice. I was aware of all these things. But I was excited. I was excited because he seems likable. Like he seems like a charismatic guy. So I was like, okay, it'll probably be a good time. And then I saw a couple of the promos, and I was like, okay, he's game. He's ready to play, and that's all I ever asked for in a host. So I was excited about it. Steve, how did you feel when you heard about Austin Butler?
Well, it was, something that made sense
Mhm.
with Elvis being a big hit. It made a lot of money, right? Yeah.
I think it did all right. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a
Yeah.
pretty big summer hit. I mean, it wasn't a Top Gun Maverick,
Yeah.
but it made back
Everybody
more
was
than they
talking
thought it was
about
gonna
it, so
make.
I assumed a lot of people were seeing it. I'm not familiar with him. I haven't seen Elvis, and I don't know what else he's in. Sometimes I have seen people in movies and not realize I did until
He has a small role in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He plays Tex, who's the dude who lives on the Manson ranch that
the first guy that
Brad
Brad
Pitt
Pitt
punches off
beats
the
him up.
horse. Beats up. So that's the only thing I've
Okay.
seen him in before this.
That's hardly a
and
role.
Elvis. And I didn't know what his personality was like. So I every time I see him in an interview, he's always still doing I really like working on Elvis. So I didn't think when I heard that he was hosting, I genuinely was like, he's gonna be one of those boring hosts. And boy, was I wrong. I can't think of a first-time host who's as game as Austin Butler was last night.
It's interesting that you really, really liked the Austin Butler episode. Reddit really, really liked the Austin Butler episode. And I did not like the Austin Butler episode.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
And I don't know if
Really?
it's because it's the first episode in years that I haven't watched live, and maybe that was it. But yeah, it was just like, a lot of the sketches I was just like, that was a miss. There were a few things I liked, but yeah.
Really? Oh, I had the
Maybe it
exact
was just my
opposite
headspace
reaction.
when I watched it.
And maybe it's
honestly,
also
it could
coming off Martin Short and Steve Martin's episode that was, in my opinion, just a weaker written episode. I really thought the writing in the Austin Butler episode, not only was it strong, but it was weird. There were some real weird takes for these sketches that I just really enjoyed. The ones we're not talking about, Marzipan sketch, crazy and weird.
Oh my god.
The please don't destroy sketch, just a weird thing.
Well, let's talk about the sketches we are going to talk about.
Yeah.
Starting with an interesting one. It's an exciting night at the retirement center. That's right. Jewish Elvis is in the building.
So you say interesting. Is it because you did not like the sketch?
Because I did not like those sketches.
That's insane to me. I think this is one of the funniest sketches I've ever done.
Break it down. Tell me what was great about it.
During this whole sketch. Well, first off, I don't know if you grew up around a large Jewish community.
I'm from Alabama. No,
but
I'm not.
I did. No, okay. So this is very good. This is a very good sketch. This is a very, and this might affect my opinion. It's a very New York Jew kind of like thing. It's very. This is kind of like everyone the culture I grew up around.
I mean, I get I live on the Upper West Side now, so I get some of the tropes.
Yeah, exactly. The fact there's so many beats in this that just made me cry laughing. When I saw Austin Butler in a dress, my immediate thought was ugh, they're doing man in the dress sketch, a man in the dress sketch, but that's not what the sketch is at all. Austin Butler's in the sketch, but if anything, it's much more anti-Semitic than it is man in the dress sketch. But it's not anti-Semitic. I'll say that it's not anti-Semitic. It's very funny. It was written by Jews. Sarah Sherman is very Jewish, but her Jewish Elvis is such a funny idea. It's such a funny idea, and this is one of those things where I hear, we're in comedy. We're constantly hearing that thing of just like people come up to me and just go like, "Oh, you do comedy? Huh, can't make jokes no more. Can't make jokes no more." Yes, you can. Look how fucking weird this was. This was so weird and very, very, very Jewish and very, very ethnic, if you would. And oh my God, is it funny? And no one is offended. It's so Sarah Sherman. If she could win an Oscar for a sketch, is Jewish Elvis. I would watch her do Jewish Elvis until we fly into the sun and it just engulfs the earth. I want to watch that all the time. I'm trying to let me backtrack a little bit. Let me get less excited for this perfect sketch that if Katherine says anything negative about, I will attack like a mama bear. It is just no, you can have your opinions, Katherine, but you're wrong. It's a great sketch. The okay. The setup, great. Cecily, very, very funny in the beginning of the sketch of just like when she says when Chloe Fineman, who as the granddaughter goes, "Wait, what is this?" And she goes, "Let me explain. It's Jewish Elvis." And it's just like that. The explanation is it is Elvish but Jewish. And Austin Butler as just the horniest old lady they've ever seen, taking off his panties, throwing up, ruined me, Jewish Elvis, ruined me. Oh my God. It's so stupid and over the top and silly, and there's no rhyme or reason of why I loved it. I loved it so much. Steve, do you agree with me?
I agree with you. Like,
are you with Katherine where you think it's it's a second coming of Christ, which is ironic because they're both Jewish.
It crossed my mind too. But no, I don't know if I agree with you like 100%. Like, I enjoyed it. It was great. Like, I'm not saying this is the second coming of anything.
Yeah, you're not Katherine who's spit in my face when I said I said I want to pick Jewish Elvis, and I will read you the response.
I'm still trying to figure it out, really.
Hold on.
Yes, do read the text I sent you this morning.
I said, okay, first off, I said, I think my second one's going to be White Elephant. That's after I watched it the first time. And then on my third viewing of Jewish Elvis, I said, no. I'm so tempted by Jewish Elvis. I think we're going with Jewish Elvis. And then he goes, very surprised by this pick. And then ha. She wrote out ha. The spit in my face. I felt the viper. The viper stung.
That one. Yeah. That's the tone.
So, Steve, you said you're still figuring it out.
Still figuring it out. Like, what the hell am I watching? On the surface, maybe, yes, the answer is obvious. You're watching a Jewish Elvis, which I think is the joke. Like, there's nothing more to it. It's just a Jewish Elvis.
It really is.
And like, if you don't get it, there's nothing else we can explain to you to help you get it. But yeah, like I get it a little bit. What I don't get are things like this is played for laughs. Obviously, it's a comedy show, but like it exists in a world where people want to watch this and like kind of take it seriously in a way and find it arousing is the word I want to use.
Okay, well, Steve, I feel like you were getting to my biggest issue with this sketch is that it's two unusual things, and to use one of Patrick's favorite phrases against him, it's a hat on a hat.
You got me. Oh, I do love to say don't do because a hat on a hat, but
I think Jewish Elvis alone is a funny, unusual thing. The old ladies being really horny for him is a second unusual thing that then made me confused about the logic of the world. Is Jewish Elvis good or bad? I don't know. I will say that there's a couple things that I did really love. When Austin Butler took off his panties, beautiful, amazing. And then I think this showed Cecily being an absolute pro because there's a line Austin Butler was supposed to say, and he didn't say it. And Cecily sort of looks at him and then she delivers the line, and then he laughs, looks at her, and delivers the line again. And I was like, oh, she was gonna save the day right there.
What line is it?
It's
Which
somewhat
line?
early on. I think she says, "Oh, he's about to sing," and then Austin goes, "Oh, he's about to sing," and like you can, if you watch closely, just before she says it, Austin's like kind of distracted, and she kind of glances, and then she does the line because the music's starting.
Because Austin Butler is having the most fun I've ever seen any host on SNL ever have.
And you want to know what's interesting? This apparently was cut from the Miles Teller episode.
What?
Are we not like, this had to be done with Austin Butler? Like, I mean, it's insane that this wasn't Sarah Sherman thinking, what do we do when Austin Butler's here? Elvis. Like, what?
Yeah. Oh my God, I didn't even think of that. I just thought you meant because Austin Butler gives like 1,000% in the sketch. But you're right. I mean,
that too.
It's so crazy that this was not written for the dude who plays Elvis.
Exactly. Like, I thought that was part of the joke, honestly. Like,
wow. Yeah.
It was like a middle finger to the people asking for an Elvis sketch, because they definitely weren't asking for that Elvis sketch.
Yeah. Oh my God. So that is crazy.
But that's interesting.
Crazy. Well, I think we've talked about Jewish Elvis enough. I mean, for Patrick, nothing would be enough, but I do think for most of the world, we've done it enough. So let's get into our last sketch of the night. A sad, lonely man realizes what he's been missing by looking through a loving family's window. And they are terrified by this. I picked this because this was maybe the one episode from the Austin Butler episode I was like, that's a great sketch. I really liked it.
Katherine just slapped me in the face.
I know. I'm sorry. But I think this is such a good trope to turn on its head, because I think a lot of us have had this thought when we see this happen in a movie. They're looking in the window and we're like, these people can see you. Like, I think that's a common enough thought, but to see it play out is just really, really great. And this was an Andrew Dismuke sketch. He pitched it, he wrote it. And I just really love his sense of humor. But yeah, production design executed well, and it heightens amazingly. Like, it's not just them playing alarmed in different ways. It's seeing the dynamics of this family play out in this specific circumstance. And it's just so good and so specific. And I just loved it. And then Austin Butler, inconsistent, but at moments with a killer Jimmy Stewart impression. every few lines it would come through and I'd go, whoa.
Oh, Marion.
Especially the opening of this sketch is so, especially when he's like, there's that great shot. And honestly, this sketch also so well directed, so well shot.
Very, very.
It looks perfect. It's so incredibly well directed. And there's that shot of like where it's the twofer where, like, Mikey's in the back and then Austin's there and he's just like, well, I got no family on Christmas. It's just such a perfect Jimmy Stewart, where I'm like, this guy's such a good impressionist. And like, I think he's a very good actor too, but he's such a good impressionist. It's insane that like, he seems a little crazy for continuing to do Elvis, like it's because I'm like, oh, he's really good at Jimmy Stewart. Oh, because he's a good impressionist. It's not that he actually sounds like Elvis all the time. It's it's a little nuts still, but no, I agree. It's a spot on Wonderful Life parody just by the look of it.
Yeah. Steve, what'd you think of it?
Well, it reminded me of me, I guess. Cause like
you're a lonely man looking at people's windows?
No. When like I watch movies, I am that asshole that ruins it for everyone, because I point out all the things that just don't make 100% sense if it were, it's supposed to be presented as the real world to an extent. So like little continuity errors and stuff shouldn't technically be happening, but they do. And I'm there to pick out everyone and not enjoy the movie. But yeah, that is something, we observe in movies. It's like when you stare through a window, they're probably going to notice you. And but it's more to it than that. There's layers to this sketch. There's that as a joke, and then there's this whole story of getting to know the family, and the irony of like he's looking at this family that's not really happy at all. Making that point,
I will say it's a really well paced sketch.
Yeah.
Like it literally, like once we get tired of the joke of, oh, this crazy guy staring at the window, and he has that moment where he just goes, I just want a happy family. It goes back in, and they're going like, you had an affair like thing, and now it's like, now it's a different sketch. Or I mean, like
the
same sketch, but now it's like
God, that's amazing.
It was so funny, and then the angel shows up, and then from their perspective, it looks like he's blowing him, and then he. And
if you'll notice the way they played it, because like when they cut to the family, everybody in the family, anybody other than the family is using an old timey accent, but they sound a little bit normal. They're not putting on that voice and like just letting the awkwardness of this drama present itself in a more modern way that we're more related to. Because I think that would have muddled the joke if they were trying to do old timey voices and make like this cringe moment that you kind of don't want to be around for. I had to feel real.
I agree, and I think it's it's just the strength of the writing. I think Andrew Dismukes, who listen, I love him. We know this. Beautiful little boy, fantastic, such a funny sketch performer. Like he's such a great sketch writer. Like it's paced well. The jokes are strong. Nothing lingers too long where you get bored of this kind of this bit. Like what, like, you know. So this is one of those. This is up there for me. Like I can see this going to, being the best of holiday stuff for SNL in like 5-6 years, because it's such a strong sketch.
Awesome. Well, that one was a win overall. Austin Butler, mixed feelings across the panel here, but we won't talk about it. So let's talk about the run as a whole. Let's talk about our featured players. How are the featured players doing over these 3 episodes? Patrick, what's your assessment?
I think they're Devon's really stepping up for me as like someone who I like when he's in a sketch. When I see him show up in something, I don't know, maybe like the first 2 weeks of him being a feature player, I was kind of like, they don't know what they're doing with him now, but now he's kind of settling into that role where I was afraid they were just going to have him do the Chris Red stuff, and then he was just going to be, because he's such a different performer. But I definitely think he's fitting the role. I'm not crazy about the other 2 dudes. I feel like they're a little interchangeable for me right now, where I constantly mix them up, because they're just look, they have the same kind of build too, and they're kind of they're giving like identical type of parts. So no true standout yet of like the new cast members. But so out of those guys, and then I feel like Molly's, they're not being given enough, because they in the Hello Kitty sketch flubbed like 3 lines.
A lot of lines, yeah.
They flubbed a lot of lines, and whenever and again, I really think they're great. I think they're really funny. I don't think they're live ready,
Yeah.
And
I agree.
Because the tape stuff is very funny. We're in their tape stuff, especially the stuff that sketch, I think 2 weeks ago, or maybe it was the Keke Palmer week, where they were in a Please Don't Destroy sketch.
Yeah, I think that was Keke.
This Keke sketch, yeah. So like again, like that, they were very funny in the pre-tape stuff, but the live stuff, I've noticed that they're shaky. They're just shaky on the camera.
Yeah,
and
like the Hello Kitty one, Molly flubbed a decent bit of lines, and then there was also that choir sketch where I felt like their performance was just a little seen it before.
Yeah, and then it bums me out. It really bums me out, because I want them to explode,
Yeah. I mean, this is a tough 3 episodes to talk about those for new people, because we didn't see a whole lot of
We
them.
didn't see a whole lot of them. Yeah,
Very
No.
underutilized.
They're very underutilized, especially like
with
because
the
honestly,
exception of Michael Longfellow. Michael Longfellow is being utilized like he's been there for years. Like they slot him into any role that like anybody could be put in. They're like, yeah, Longfellow must do this role. Like he's clearly really well liked.
Well, one of these
so
3
I think
episodes
he's
he
having a
wasn't
pretty
in
banger.
at all. Sarah Sherman's dad eclipsed him in screen time.
Yeah.
In that one episode.
Oh, that's right. He's not really in the Steve Martin Run Short one.
Yeah, he was in a promo for it, so there's a little thing there. But
yeah, there's that.
Yeah,
I don't. I feel like they want Michael Longfellow to be Pete Davidson, and I don't think because he is. Listen, I'll say he's an attractive guy. He is an attractive dude, and he is funny. But I see him more as a straight man.
Oh yeah,
and I think if you give him,
did I write Jingle Bells? No. Great line.
That was
delivery.
so funny.
Yeah.
That was such a funny delivery. And I agree. It's like I feel like they're giving him this weird. They're trying to put him in like this Pete Davidson kind of box, and I don't think he's fitting for me. And the other guy, what's his name? Marcelo. I feel like him and Marcelo, I keep confusing them. They have the same exact hairstyle, and it's just literally like I was watching the Wonderful Life sketch that Katherine you picked from the Austin Butler episode. He's the son in the table, and I genuinely thought that was Michael Longfellow until I realized like, oh, that's not Michael Longfellow, that's the other guy. And then I did the exact opposite thing in the Steve Martin episode where I saw what I thought was Michael Longfellow, and then I realized, oh, that's not Michael Longfellow, that's Marcelo. And I just keep forgetting they I don't know.
You even switched them around just then saying that sentence.
Did I really? Yeah.
Do you say Marcelo Longfellow?
Because I feel like a year ago when we had this conversation, there was like we were losing our minds over Sarah Sherman, we were losing our minds over Dismukes, Punky, all these people who I feel like have such a are really like now in the lifeblood of current day SNL. But yeah, I don't think we have that. I don't think we have that with this batch, which sucks. And I think we're being forced into a Michael Long fellowship.
Interesting. I do feel like Michael Longfellow is the standout, but maybe you're right. We're being just forced into it by the powers that be. I think they're using Marcelo a lot, but I wouldn't say he's particularly memorable or really has his voice come through a whole lot. Steve, are you sort of landing on the same page as me and Pat?
Yeah, I am for sure. I think you said something, one of you did, about pre-tapes is where they're able to show, why they got hired. And the jitters are where they might be not doing themselves as many favors. So, like, I would, I want to say they'll get better at it. Some don't. Some struggle the whole time.
The chances of all 4 of these people sticking around are sort of low.
Yeah. It's
but like I can see Molly. I can see Molly getting a sitcom. I can see Molly getting like on a Comedy Central thing or a Netflix show, and like taking off there. I just don't think the live show's working for them, and it sucks to say. And I as a non-binary person, I want the non-binary person to succeed.
So I think you're right, Steve. I think it's maybe the nerves catching up to them on the live stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot of season left to go though to see what comes of it. So we'll keep.
I'm gonna say give it time to see what happens. I won't say give it time and everything will be all right because Jesus, when is it ever perfect over there?
All right, well, let's talk about our repertory players. There's a lot of them, but I think the obvious lead story here is that we've seen Cecily Strong's last episode. And I'll say we got a little bit of feedback on Twitter. Travis Kemp says, man, I'm going to miss seeing Cecily Strong on SNL. She's so incredibly talented, courageous, and just one of the show's greatest, in my opinion. There's a reason why her last name is Strong. Good one, Trav. So yeah, Steve, you're our Cecily Obsessily. How are you holding up?
Mhm.
Yes. I forgot I made that up. It's sad to see her go. It seems like a last minute announcement, and yeah, I guess that's when they just announced it. They must have known it a little longer than we did. I
Truly.
can't imagine she told her the day of the show. Um, but yeah, I think it was a great send off. There was certainly a lot of screen time for her, and we got two separate uh, pieces that directly
It said
gave her a
goodbye.
chance
Yeah.
to say what she wanted to say as Cecily. She didn't really drop character as Kathy Ann. Like it definitely the veil thinned a little bit when she got to the more reflexive parts of going away, saying goodbye, and all that. Great, great to see a reference to her Chicago friends, 80 and Kate. Um, yeah, it's it's nice, and I hope that is some kind of foreshadowing to them working together as you know
Oh, wouldn't
three
that be amazing?
hilarious women in something. Because yeah,
The Three
uh,
Amigos female reboot.
well, yeah,
Please don't do it.
okay.
Please, God, don't do it. No
Don't
one do it.
if
No,
they do
do it.
that, let that not be the only thing that they do.
If you actually adapt that, they should just do Three Amigos again anyway, because I love that movie so
Yeah.
much, and I want to
So
watch
it's the
it
three
unproblematically.
amigas. It writes itself.
Oh, Jesus, God, no. Anyway, continue.
What am I going to continue to say? I'm going to miss Cecily. I'm looking forward to Schmigadoon season 2. Check out
Cannot wait.
Schmigadoon season 1 if you haven't. Maybe there's a way to see her one woman show sometime. I don't know if that's
That's
available.
literally what I was about to bring up, Steve. Was I sad that Cecily's leaving, but I hope this opens up the possibility that she'll come to Broadway with that show. I saw it downtown, and I think I think I would easily watch it again on Broadway. She's incredible in it. I think she should win a Tony, and I hope this is. I truly hope this is why she's leaving mid-season, is so they can open in the spring, so it can be eligible for the Tonys.
Yeah.
Interesting. So it's interesting because at the beginning of the season we were all like, oh yeah, Cecily didn't leave over the summer. That's weird. She probably
Yeah.
should have. Like, it's time to go, blah blah blah. And then she came back and we were sort of like, I didn't think I was going to miss Cecily, but you know what? Now that she's back, I did. And it's really good, nice having her. And now she's gone. And now I'm sad. Like, it's been a roller coaster of a season for like my feelings on Cecily. I mean, I've always felt that she was amazing and like incredible, and I've always loved her, but like it was sort of like, it's time to go. Oh, I'm glad she's here. This will be a fun season. And then in the blink of an eye, she was like, JK, I'm out. She showed up for like 6 episodes. But
well, if you do feel sad, you can always Cecily Repressly.
And the send-offs were so good. Like Kathy Ann's send-off was amazing. I started tearing up on that. And then like the Blue Christmas one really got me. Like when she couldn't even get out like Saturday night, I started crying. And then Colin Jost like sent me over the edge. His sad little moment there, like wow, I am a sucker for like a emotional send off. I know not everybody is a fan of when they do that, but I really, really am. So I was glad to see that Cecily got her moment. Just like Kate and 80, they didn't have as Kate had as big of a moment. I would say 80 had a little bit smaller moment. But I was glad to see that for Cecily. She's been there for 11 years, so I think she earned it, and they did it in a clever enough way. So I was happy, and I think Cecily's off to really great things. So that'll be good.
Yeah,
Patrick,
she's off to win
how are you
she's
feeling?
off to win a Tony.
She's off
That's
to win
what
a
she's
Tony,
off
yeah.
to. That's the thing is I think she's such a it wasn't until to be completely honest, Smigadoon that I realized what an amazing on stage performer. Like, because we see her live every week, but the fact, like, like she's such an incredible like performer. I was so lucky enough to see her last winter in the Thoughts of the Universe, to the whatever the name of
Search
it
for
is,
signs
the
of intelligent life in the universe.
Search for Times. Yeah, she's incredible in it, and it's the Lily Tomlin play that from the 80s that it's one of those Broadway things that like it's supposed to be a great monologue piece, but it's such a weird character showcase, and it showcased everything she's like, every strong thing she's ever done on SNL's like showcased in this. I think this, I hope, opens a possibility for her to come to Broadway, because I would love to see her on stage. I would love to see her on stage again on Broadway. I want her to win a Tony. I want her to become a musical theater actress, like she wants to so bad.
I'm about to say, I think
know?
Cecily wants that as well.
And I just, because I would love to see like a revival of Mame with Cecily Strong. Okay, I just want that so bad. Just me.
Well, now we were given an interesting question on Twitter from Monette Morady, who asked, "Was Cecily gone? Should there be a mid-season hire in 2023?"
Nah.
Yeah.
Unless it's me, absolutely not. Patrick?
1,000. Yeah. Same exact thing. I didn't want to say it. I did not want to say it. And there's no way I would have gotten away with it. But no, it's just like a thing of like, unless they're like, it's right now, I feel like the cast is a little full. Mm-hmm. If anything, we can start cutting people, like I feel like Cecily left us. I mean, like again,
there's
like
4 featured players. There's 4 new people, or there's 5 featured players. There's 4 brand new people this season. And they're still fighting for getting their footing and getting their voices out. So I feel
like the cast is in such a good place. It's in such a good place right now. Better question, who do you think is next to leave? Not get fired, because I think we all kind of have a similar idea of like who might be on the chopping block, but who do you think will leave next out of the core cast right now?
I think Jost and Che.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say Mikey.
I think this is their last season. What?
Oh, I was gonna go with Mikey Day.
Mikey Day's my third. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because everyone else is, I feel like, just in that sweet spot of like, finally, like now that like the bit
sort of,
but also mid contract. But I would also say finally, like for example, like Heidi, who's been amazing for years. Now that like Kate's gone, and now that Cecily's gone, man, I'm so excited.
Those first 3 episodes were so Heidi heavy. It was great.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm so excited to see more of that, because I think Heidi Gardner is one of the strongest sketch comedians we have today. And literally, like she's not only is she on SNL, she's one of the best of the best. So I'm so excited that we're gonna see more of her.
Great. So yeah, we're all on the same page. They are more than welcome to hire me. They are not welcome to hire anyone else. Great. So yeah, let's talk about the writers. We have a new writer that got hired before this run of 3 episodes, seemingly somewhat suddenly. Asha Ward, who I actually saw. Asha did Andrew Dismuke hosts a bi-monthly stand-up show at the Improv Asylum called Steve Martin Presents, and I saw Asha Ward at that. It was while my mom was in town, so I guess mid-November. And she was so fun. She was the best of the night, far and away. Like she was so funny. She told this one joke about single ply toilet paper. And she's like, I put that on my pussy and it melts like a Listerine strip. And that was the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life. And so that was great. And then like a couple weeks later, Ash had gotten hired at SNL, and like seemingly based on like kind of what I pieced together from what she posted about it, it seemed like they hired her like on Monday and the show was Saturday, which, isn't crazy for SNL. Like they do stuff like that a lot, but it was just considering the timing of it, not even being like the mid-season break, it was just like, we're starting our December shows. Let's hire Asha Ward. Like it was interesting how it kind of played out. But she's really funny, and I'm really excited to see what she brings to the show. She has already written a couple things. She did the Mary Louise Fisher holiday shopping that Ego did on Weekend Update, the holiday shopper.
Yeah, that was a fun sketch.
Yeah, it was a fun little bit.
Yeah.
That was fun solid. Bit. So I see her merit.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then we've seen Sierra O'Sullivan get a few more things on. Jimmy Fallon seems to be making a name for himself. And yeah, I think, you know, we touched on it a little bit as we went through the episodes, but where do we feel the writing is in this run of 3 versus the last 2? Like, I think the first one we all sort of said, it was a little rough. The second one, Steve and I both said it's getting better. It's on upward trajectory. There's some good stuff here. And then in this run of 3, I feel like it was a little bit of a mixed bag. But Steve, what about you?
Mixed, but overall favorable.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, like I often grin and maybe not laugh out loud, but this time I got, caught off guard and had some belly laughs because, you know, it's late around here when SNL's on. I don't have it to watch it. I don't have anyone to watch with at that hour. So
Yeah.
you don't laugh as much when you're alone, but this I was actually laughing to myself while watching these episodes. So that is a good sign right there.
That's good.
But we
That's the
also
point.
have, yeah, and we've got like, classic hosts. We got
Mhm.
things to look forward to. Like it's like there's a lot of hype to this.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just the hype without some payoff. I think we got some payoff too. Some sketches might have not as been, you know, up there with our favorites, but that seems par for the course.
Yeah. Patrick, what do you think?
No, I agree. I think a bit of a mixed bag, but definitely more on the positive side. I felt the Keke Palmer episode was good. Not the strongest, but like solid all around. Uh I was a little let down by the Martin Short Steve Martin episode, and that was writing based. I was a little upset with not upset, but I was a little, I was hoping for more from on the writing end. And but I did again. I don't think there was anything there where I was like, "Oh, that sketch is terrible, poorly, so badly written that I would have been like, whatever." I thought everything in that sketch, that episode, outside of the Christmas Carol sketch, was middling at best. But as I've said before, and I'll say it again, the Austin Butler episode blew me away. I thought the sketches were either well written, very like the Wonderful Life sketch, a very like well written pace sketch, or just batshit crazy. And sometimes when it comes to SNL, I'd rather a batshit crazy sketch than something that was a little boring or whatever. So, yeah, overall, I feel like, especially season wise, I think we're on the upswing, and I think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, let's talk about our overall ratings, and let's do them a little rapid fire here. I think that's fun when we did that the first week. So, most memorable moment, Patrick.
When Martin Short stood up as the elf and Steve Martin goes, "Your legs are back," and he starts yelling. That little back and forth that seemed very improv was fantastic.
Amazing. My most memorable moment was when Kel walked in and did the orange soda thing.
Yeah.
Steve.
My moment is when Tiny Tim fell down the manhole.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if anyone was going to pick that, I had a backup. Is when Tiny Tim fell down the manhole a second time.
Nice.
Yep. Didn't have to go there though.
Let's go standout sketch, Patrick.
Oh, standout sketch. Well, I don't know if I've mentioned it. It's called Jewish
Oh,
Elvis.
How dare I ask? I'm so sorry. I was torn between Keenan and Kelly and the "Please Don't Destroy Chelsea" sketch, which we did not ever even.
Oh, we didn't even
once
talk
in this
about
whole episode.
We talked about the Sarah
Talked about
Silverman's dad showing
her
up.
dad, yeah.
But that's it. Yeah.
I'm gonna give it to Keenan and Kelly. On that note, just an honorable mention. Steve, best sketch.
I'll give it to Scrooge for production value, great comedy beats, great timing, and yeah, everybody involved had a little moment there, and grossed out gags were gross in their own unique ways, and yeah, there was always just something new to be disgusted by.
Our next category is best host. And Steve asked me earlier if he had to pick between Steve Martin and Martin Short. And I'm going to say Yes. Only in the sense that if you say that them as a duo are the best hosts of this run of 3, I do want you to then that's your answer, but you will be forced to decide which one did better. So be aware of that before you make your choices.
Okay.
Patrick, who's the best host?
Austin Butler. I thought Austin Butler as a first-time host blew me away. I went in with lower than low expectations because I saw his performance in Elvis. I thought it was good, but not amazing. And then anytime I see him do press stuff, he's still kind of like that serious, kind of like, hey, I'm an actor and I'm going for the Oscar. And the fact that he went full crazy hog ham. What's that saying? Full ham? Hog ham?
Full hog.
Full hog.
Whole hog. Full hog.
Whole hog.
Whole hog.
There it is.
There it is. But yeah. So exactly. So it's like he just went for a first time host, just as big as I've ever seen anyone go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he did great. I'm gonna go with Keke Palmer. I thought she brought just an insane amount of energy to it. And really enjoyed her episode. Steve.
Well, you're having me pick between them. I would have just went
so you are saying the best hosts of the 3 episodes were Steve Martin and Martin Short.
Yes, but
now,
you
but
want to
which
make me
one
pick?
was better? Yes.
I'm going to say just Martin Short because he had more screen time.
You're correct.
Yeah, there were entire sketches that Steve sat out, so I feel like the heavy lifting went to Mr. Short. As great as both of them were, it would have been a great episode with either of them hosting. But I love the way they roast each other.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really glad they were both there to have that monologue where they, completely destroyed each other in a loving fashion. It was awesome. But yeah, you're making me pick. So Marty gets it.
Only because you asked. I was like, yeah, let's make him pick for fun. That's for me. Up next we got best musical guest, Patrick.
I'm gonna be complete. No, that's not true because I watched Brandi. I did not see SZA's performance, so I will say that I watched Brandi Carlile. I like Brandi Carlile again, but Lizzo's Christmas song was my favorite song, my favorite performance. I loved it.
I'm gonna give best musical guest to Brandi Carlile, because I like Brandi Carlile, but I love that she did an older song. The Story is such a good song, and I just think it's, especially when you're like I mean, Brandi Carlile is doing very well for herself, but a somewhat lesser known musical guest compared to Lizzo, and to bring you hits. Who says it has to be something brand new? So I was glad to see that, and it was an amazing performance. So I'm gonna give it to Brandi Carlile. Steve, what about you?
As much as I admire Lizzo's commitment to, sleeping on stage so that she wouldn't miss her performance, I'd say Brandi Carlile was best. I'm probably most familiar with Lizzo just because you literally can't not be. But yeah, being introduced to Brandi Carlile and what she does was really fun. I can see myself checking her out more.
Yeah, there's actually a great Brandi Carlile documentary that just came out about their new album. So if you want to, if you really like this and you want to see like them perform more of their songs and talk about it, it's really interesting.
All right, MVP, Patrick.
Sarah Sherman.
I'm gonna go Cecily one last time. Steve.
Yeah, it's gonna be Cecily for me too, just because.
Oh, an idiot! I can't believe I didn't go Cecily. What about Sarah?
What are you doing?
Can I change my answer? No, I don't.
Cecily.
No, don't make me change my. I said Sarah. I'll stay with Sarah, but son of a bitch. What an idiot.
Yeah, you have to live with your choice.
I
gotta live with myself.
You have to live with it.
Yeah, it's Cecily. We'll miss her. All right, the big one. On a scale of must-see TV, Sunday morning Peacock, catch the highlights on YouTube, or Saturday Night Dead. Patrick, how would you rate these 3 episodes?
I'm gonna say Sunday morning Peacock. I don't think you need to watch it, but I do feel like these sketches. There's not an unwatchable sketch in the bunch. I'll say that. Everything was at least interesting.
Okay. I'm gonna give it a catch the highlights on YouTube. I feel like the Keke episode would maybe make a must see TV or Sunday morning Peacock, but the other two I didn't think were nearly as strong and just had a few standout moments. So yeah, I'm gonna overall say highlights on YouTube. Steve?
Peacock. Peacock. Yeah, Peacock. Peacock. Peacock.
Oh.
Peacock.
All right.
I'm picking Peacock because I would call it must see TV if I cared more about like pregnancy announcements. But I feel like I
You
could have
weren't
went to work.
invested in that storyline?
I could have went to work Monday, and I don't know if I would have had too much spoiled for me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would have watched it by Sunday, given our
Right.
Yeah.
very constraining rating system. But yeah, I think it's middle of the road stuff. I would tune in live, but I can't just give everything a
We're
5,
unique.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Like if we're gonna be honest, we're all must see TV because we all watch it
Yeah, exactly.
every Saturday night. But
If you're asking me what I did, I watched it. So I guess
Yeah.
everything's perfect.
All right, so this was a good time breaking down some great SNL, some okay SNL. It's a good time. I think these are 3 very solid hosts, though. Obviously, 2 of them are. But I think our 2 newcomers were really great, high energy. I hope they keep booking people like this in the back half of the season.
Yes.
So yeah. Patrick, you got anything you want to plug for us? What you got going on?
sure. Well, I am part of a great production company called Broadway Bods. It is a organization where it's a nonprofit where we produce shows for larger people. There's weight discrimination. I mean, it's hard to get booked in certain things based on just the fact that I got big old titties and I shouldn't. But yeah, so we're starting a YouTube channel that you can follow us at Broadway Bods on YouTube, and we'll be posting things from our sketch show that Katherine was a part of, also as a writer and performer on. We just did 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee Drunk on Twitch, so we're going to be posting clips from the musical, and then we just did a holiday show, so we're going to be putting on shorts of us singing at the holiday show. So there's be stuff coming out in the new year, and all coming together in our big production in the spring, which I can't legally say yet what it will be, but let's just say it's a Jason and Robert Brown musical about divorce. Which one could that be? Kids who like musicals. But yeah, but we're gonna do that stuff. So if you're in New York or even if you just want to watch on YouTube, check it out.
Cool. I've got a sketch I just filmed. I just finished filming it today. It's a parody of the NYC.gov what to do in a nuclear emergency PSA. And it's going to be a good time. I'll get it edited at some point. It'll be out either late December, early January on my socials. So follow me at Katherine is Funny, KatherineIsFunny.com. That's the main thing I've got going on coming up. Steve, you got anything going on? What you doing for the holidays?
Holidays. The whole family's together. Everybody's
lovely.
coming in from all over, and yeah, it'll be nice.
I hope there's no
yeah.
perverts looking in your window.
Oh my God! Thank you for
With your
letting me
happy
look.
family
I have
there.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for making me look. Now I have to go deal with this man in angel wings breathing fog onto my glass.
Man, it's really funny when Mikey Day pushes him down and runs out the room. That made me chuckle.
Great way to end it.
Yeah.
Great way to end it. All right. And speaking of great ways to end it, that's a great way to end it.
Great way to end
happy
this.
holidays, everybody. And that is a wrap.
Yay!
Thanks to Steve Finn and Pat Riley. And thanks as well to our most generous patrons, Justin Gardner, Grace Kogan, and Brian Clark. If you're enjoying our show, please subscribe on YouTube or wherever better podcasts can be found. Your subscription helps us grow, and your support is greatly appreciated. We'll be back in January to discuss SNL's next run of shows. But until then, This has been episode number 167 of the Saturday Night Live Afterparty podcast. I'm Katherine Coleman. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.